What is up, guys? Welcome back to yet another brand new Major Brain Gaming video. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day as always. Now, in today's video, I'm talking about Silent Hill F. Now, I started this game Thursday, the day it came out, and played it all the way through until yesterday. I didn't do everything, I just did the first playthrough and got the ending that I believe everybody gets on the first playthrough. And I've got to say, maybe I'm wrong here, or whatever, people can tell me I'm wrong. This is just my opinion, so please don't get mad when I'm just voicing my opinion. I really did not enjoy this game at all, at least in comparison to something like Silent Hill 2 Remake, which was my first Silent Hill game. That was my first ever Silent Hill game. I'm not usually a big horror game fan, but I've recently got into horror series such as Resident Evil and Silent Hill 2 Remake. So playing this one, I was really excited to get my hands on it coming off the back of Silent Hill 2 Remake, but I've got to just say I'm disappointed. I did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy the story. I did not enjoy much about the game. The combat was awful, and that's what I want to mainly focus on in this video. Now, when I first started this, I was like really intrigued with the storyline and the setting, but then the more I played on, it just kind of fell apart for me personally. I don't want to spoil too much, but please don't watch this video if you want to, play the game for yourself and not hear anything, because I can't not talk about things and spoil it, so warning is here. But in terms of just story-wise, it didn't click with me. I had to watch a video on it after to kind of understand that the guy with the fox mask in the second world, if you like, was very much portraying the husband of herself, the future husband that she'll have, and the potential abuse or whatever. I kind of get it, but it just didn't click for me until I watched a video on it. Maybe it's has something to do with the culture that's just different. I don't know. I just didn't really get it. But as I said, the main thing I want to focus on is the combat, because this just felt so stupid to me. And maybe I'm wrong, but hear me out on this. I'm going to take my headphones off because I'm not even using them. But I think not having a gun or some sort of ranged weapon, apologies for the hair, some sort of ranged weapon really ruined it for me. And just pause before you start going to the comments section. Because, right, the game is purely based around melee only. You have typical things like the pipe. You find like knives, scythes in this game, and you have those kind of melee weapons. Now, you've obviously come across many different types of enemies that you will meet and fight, and you get nothing from that. You are literally, there's no benefit to it. So you have a pipe, for example, you have an enemy that comes at you. You have multiple options. You can either just fight this enemy with the pipe, which reduces the durability and it breaks down the weapon, which then you could use a very limited repair kit, depending on the difficulty you play the game on. I imagine it changes. You can use a repair kit to repair that weapon, and obviously you've then wasted a repair kit, and then you fight another enemy and you break your weapon down. Or you can just run past the enemies. And I figured out very early on that actually, if there's no reason to fight the enemy, because some enemies are tied to opening an area to go through and progress. My cat's diving around for some reason. Some enemies are tied to areas of progression, but most enemies that are just normally in the world, you can just run past. And I just ended up, after a very small amount of time, realizing this, and it completely changed the game. And you're probably thinking, well, why not just fight them? And it's like, well, what's the point? You just waste down your weapon. You get nothing for fighting normal enemies. You don't get any drops of weapons or drops of repair kits. Some of the stronger enemies that you have to fight, you do get drops from, but all the other enemies, you get nothing. And it's just like, what's the point? I like to compare it to something I've played recently, which is Resident Evil 4. Very different types of games, I admit, but that game encourages you to fight enemies because you do get back bullets. You do get kind of a thing of like, wow, I've cleared that area out. I can now spend a bit more time looting for like some of the gems that you can put in the items that you get to make them more valuable when you sell them in the shop, so that you can actually upgrade your weapons faster. There's rewards for doing the combat in the game. But for this game, for me personally, there just felt like zero reason to fight the enemies. They just felt like a nuisance that I ran past, which then took the scary factor out of it, because I just saw another enemy walking towards me and thought, I'm just going to dash round. And that dash is just weird. The way it works, it just does not fit for me at all. But you just dash past the enemies and move on and carry on. Like, there wasn't really a reason to fight them. Some situations in the game, try not to spoil too much, but some situations in the game, like, you did need to fight them because you're in an area where you kind of needed to clear them out before you can progress, which is fine, that's okay. But in most of the other enemies that I encountered, I just ran past, and to me, that's fundamentally broken. Like, I was able to run through the game in my first playthrough in like 8 hours, I think, which is fine. I'm not saying it needs to be a long game to be its value. I absolutely don't mean it like that. But when you're just able to just walk through stuff and there's no incentive to fight enemies, it just kind of got a little frustrating and a little boring, and just like, to me, you're letting me do this, I'm going to play the game that makes it easy because I'm more interested in the story, not the combat. As I said, didn't like the combat. And as I started off saying, they tried to make this kind of like Souls-like. It's really weird to me. They tried to do it like a Souls-like. You had these rest points, and then, you know, these like shrines basically that you would rest at and save. Now, I think it did auto save. It wasn't like a Souls-like in that way. And then, but then you had these melee mechanics with like a basic parry system where when the enemy turns red, you can parry that attack or whatever. And then you had the focus ability on L2, which gave you a longer parry window. And there were boss battles that were very like Souls-like. And personally, I think they should have gone two ways here. I think some sort of ranged weapon, and maybe create more enemies, but give us some ranged weapons where we could, and maybe there's and I'm not talking from a cultural point, maybe there's a reason they can't do ranged weapons. I don't know. I'm just giving an opinion on a game that would have made it more fun for me to play if it was a perfect world for me. That's all I'm talking about. It's just how I would have enjoyed it more. Some sort of ranged weapon, or if they want to lean to the Souls-like thing, go all out on the Souls-like thing. Do a Lies of P combat system where you've got an actual parry button that works more reliably. And I don't know, just go all out in that if that's what you're going for. But it kind of felt like they tried to lean a bit Souls-like, but got a bit scared by what the fan base might think, and then start saying, "Oh, it doesn't seem like a Silent Hill game because you've gone for a Souls-like game." But then they kind of pulled back on the Souls-like elements, but then it didn't really feel like a Silent Hill game or a Souls-like, and it was in the middle, which is fine. If that's what you're going for, that's fine. I'm just saying, from my point of view, it didn't work. I thought the combat was incredibly clunky and just didn't feel very good. There wasn't a lot of skill to it. You had heavy attacks, you had light attacks, and you had this kind of parry. And I even got a skill, or whatever those things are, those things that you had like a skill basically that you could equip a certain amount. I had those things, and I had one where I could parry, and it gave me back a certain amount of HP. And from that point, I didn't struggle so much, and I played it on normal because I like to do the normal difficulty, not story, because it just doesn't seem like there's any point playing it too easy with the combat. I just went for the normal difficulty, and I didn't feel like it was that challenging because every time I did parry, which is often, like, it felt quite easy because I just got health back. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, or I should maybe try and revisit this game in another time. I did have a lot of bugs as well. Like, I thought there was a lot of graphical glitches and things, which is fine. Frame pacing issues, some stutter issues and things, but that's neither here or there. That's not a huge thing for me, but the game just felt disappointing. For me, I love Silent Hill 2. I think that game is phenomenal. It was probably up there as Game of the Year for me last year. I loved Silent Hill 2, but this one, personally for me, just wasn't it. Didn't click with me story-wise, as I said, and didn't click with me combat-wise, but it doesn't need to. It's for many other people, and I know that lots of people have enjoyed this game. And I'm not even heavily comparing it to Silent Hill 2. Even if I hadn't played Silent Hill 2, I would still say this game, for me, is just not it. It just didn't click right, and it just didn't feel good to play, from my point of view, with this melee-based combat. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I don't really have a lot to say. I don't want to go crazy into the story because it's not for me. I just wanted to talk about my opinions and also ask, have any of you felt the same way? Do you really love the game? Am I being strange? Am I wrong? Like, I mean, it's an opinion, so it is what it is, but just let me know what you think about the game down below. Don't be hateful. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not saying it's the worst game ever. It just wasn't for me, and that's okay. And I feel like sometimes on the internet you can say something's not for you and then people get incredibly upset with you even though you're not attacking the game. As I said, the game is fantastic for many people. Just for me, didn't sit right, and I just did not enjoy my playthrough. I did make it through to the end. I know there's a lot of different endings you can get in these games, like Silent Hill 2, which I will probably watch, but I'm not going to probably play them for myself. Maybe one day I'll come back and revisit it, but it just made me want to play Silent Hill 2 again. Like, that's kind of what it made me do, because I just love that game. But yeah, thank you for watching. Just an opinions video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Yeah, and I'll see you in future videos, guys. Bye-bye for now.